Hello, gentle listener. Welcome to Pets for Sleep. Whether you have returned for another quiet evening or have just discovered this calm corner for the first time, this is a place to slow down, learn something gentle about the animals we share our lives with, and allow the day to soften around you. Tonight, we are spending time with the guinea pig. A guinea pig may already be waiting near a pile of hay, its small body still until it hears the faint rustle of a vegetable bag. Its head rises, its dark eyes turn toward the sound. Then comes the clear, repeated whistle that many guinea pig owners know so well. The animal producing that surprisingly powerful call may be only 20 to 25 centimeters long. A healthy adult often weighs somewhere between 700 grams and a little over 1 kilogram, although size varies with age, sex, and body type. It has short legs, rounded ears, a broad head, and no visible tail. Its body appears simple at first glance, yet almost every part of it carries evidence of a long and unusual history. The domestic guinea pig has the scientific name Cavia porcellus. It belongs to the rodent order, placing it in the same enormous group as mice, squirrels, beavers, and capybaras. But the guinea pig belongs more specifically to a South American family of rodents known as cavies. That family connection is much more useful than its common name, because a guinea pig is not a pig, and it did not come from the African country of Guinea. The name arrived much later than the animal itself. There is an even stranger fact hidden beneath the familiar name. The modern domestic guinea pig has no natural wild population. There is no remote grassland where groups of pet guinea pigs live exactly as they do in homes. Every living member of this domestic species belongs to a population shaped by human care and breeding over thousands of years. If you enjoy these quiet journeys through the lives of animals, you're welcome to subscribe. And if it feels natural, to leave a comment sharing where you're listening from tonight, or which pet is nearby as you listen. It helps other animal lovers find their way to this calm corner of the world, one sleepy companion at a time. The absence of a wild domestic guinea pig does not mean that its ancestors appeared from nowhere. Wild relatives still live in South America, moving through grasses, rocky edges, and patches of dense vegetation. The strongest evidence points toward the montane cavy, known scientifically as Cavia chudi, as the main ancestor of today's household guinea pig. Montane cavies still occur through parts of Peru, Bolivia, northwestern Argentina, and northeastern Chile. Some populations live at elevations greater than 4,000 meters, where cool nights, steep ground, and low vegetation shape the daily search for food and cover. The journey from those wild cavies to the animal beside a modern hayrack did not happen in a single generation. It began when small grazing rodents started living close enough to people for their survival and reproduction to change. Over many centuries, humans kept certain animals, moved them between settlements, and controlled which individuals reproduced. Their descendants gradually became different from the wild populations left behind. This long process is called domestication. Domestication is more than teaching one animal to accept a human hand. A single wild animal can become tame during its own lifetime. A domesticated species changes across many generations, as inherited features become more or less common within the whole population. In guinea pigs, those changes eventually affected body shape, coat color, social behavior, reactions to unfamiliar surroundings, and the ability to live in close groups. Their relationship with people also changed repeatedly. In the Andes, guinea pigs became household animals used for food, exchange, ceremony, and other parts of community life. During the 16th century, some were carried across the Atlantic Ocean to Europe. There, a familiar South American animal became an expensive curiosity, appearing in wealthy homes and even in painted portraits. Later, guinea pigs entered scientific laboratories and became so closely connected with experiments that their name turned into a metaphor for anyone trying something uncertain. Only after all of those changes did the guinea pig become the widely recognized companion found today in homes, schools, and animal rescues around the world. The animal lifting its nose toward a familiar sound is therefore much more than a small pet waiting for a piece of lettuce. Its whistle has been shaped by learning. Its caution reflects life as a low-bodied prey animal. Its rounded form and varied coat carry the effects of domestication and selective breeding. Even its need for hay and fresh sources of vitamin C reaches back into the biology of South American plant eaters. To understand how all of this came together, we must look beneath the misleading name and meet the older family of animals from which the guinea pig came. That older family is called Cavidae, a group of rodents that evolved in South America. Its members are known as cavies. Some are small animals that move through grass and brush, while others occupy rocky slopes or open wetlands. The domestic guinea pig belongs to one branch of this much wider family. Biologists place it among mammals because it has fur, breathes air with lungs, and feeds milk to its young. Within the mammals, it belongs to the order Rodentia. An order is a large scientific group containing animals that share important inherited features. Rodentia includes more living species than any other mammal order. Mice, squirrels, beavers, and porcupines all belong to it, even though their bodies and ways of life can look very different. The feature connecting them most clearly is found at the front of the mouth. Rodents possess one large pair of incisors in the upper jaw and another pair in the lower jaw. Incisors are the teeth used for cutting and biting. In a guinea pig, these 4 front teeth have a pale outer surface rather than the deep orange color seen in many rats and beavers. Behind the incisors lies a wide toothless space called a diastema. This gap separates the cutting teeth at the front from the grinding teeth farther back. A guinea pig can use its lips and cheeks to guide a thin strand of grass through the mouth while keeping loose pieces away from the throat. The hidden cheek teeth then crush and grind the plant material. An adult guinea pig has 20 teeth altogether. Every one of them continues growing throughout the animal's life. The visible incisors receive most of the attention, but the premolars and molars farther inside the mouth are just as important. Their surfaces meet as the lower jaw moves from side to side. Those repeated movements break stiff leaves and grass into smaller pieces before they enter the digestive system. Strong jaw muscles support hours of feeding spread across the day and night. This dental design helps explain why a guinea pig belongs with rodents, even though its rounded body looks very different from the narrow shape of a mouse. Its family placement becomes more specific inside Cavidae. The domestic species belongs to the genus Cavia. A genus is a smaller scientific group made up of species that share a fairly recent common ancestor. Several wild caviar species still live in South America. They tend to have slimmer bodies, longer legs in proportion to their size, and coats that blend into dry grass or dark ground. Their coloring is usually less varied than the white patches, black markings, curls, and long hair produced through centuries of domestic breeding. The closest ancestral trail leads toward the montane cavy, Caviar chudi. The word montane refers to mountain regions and the slopes connected with them. Genetic comparisons identify this species as the strongest candidate for the main wild ancestor of modern domestic guinea pigs. Its body is leaner than that of most household guinea pigs. The coat is usually grey-brown, helping the animal disappear among stones, stems, and shadowed vegetation. A montane cavy carries the same basic rodent equipment seen in its domestic descendant, including the cutting incisors and plant-grinding cheek teeth. Older books and behavioral studies sometimes point instead to another wild species called Caviar aparea. That animal is commonly known as the Brazilian guinea pig or Brazilian cavy. Researchers studied it often because it could be observed and compared with domestic guinea pigs under controlled conditions. Those comparisons revealed useful differences in aggression, exploration, courtship, and responses to unfamiliar places. As genetic tools improved, the ancestral picture became clearer. The montane cavy emerged as the stronger match for the principal domestic lineage, while Caviar aparea remained valuable as a close wild comparison. This is why both scientific names still appear in discussions of guinea pig domestication. The classification also corrects the image created by the English name. The animal beneath that name is a specialized plant-eating rodent, whose closest history lies in South America. Its more distant relatives include capybaras, the largest living rodents, although the two animals occupy very different branches and live at dramatically different scales. The strongest ancestral path points toward Peru and Bolivia, then continues into northwestern Argentina and northeastern Chile. Across that broad western edge of South America, wild cavies encountered cold nights, thin mountain air, rocky cover, and large areas of low vegetation. Those surroundings shaped the alert body that would eventually begin living beside people. Across western South America, the montane cavy lives in landscapes far more varied than a single picture of snowy peaks might suggest. Its range reaches through parts of Peru and Bolivia, then extends into northwestern Argentina and northeastern Chile. Some populations live in valleys and dry grasslands at moderate elevations. Others survive more than 4,200 meters above sea level, higher than many permanent human settlements. The ground may be covered with bunch grasses, low shrubs, scattered stones, and narrow bands of thicker vegetation near water. Rock edges and tangled plants create small pockets of cover. An animal standing only a few centimeters above the soil can disappear behind stems that would barely reach a person's ankle. The montane cavy is shaped for moving through this low world. Its body is narrow enough to pass between plants and stones. Short, strong limbs keep it close to the ground, where it can change direction quickly. The eyes sit high and toward the sides of the head, giving the animal a broad view of its surroundings. That wide field of sight helps detect movement, while the mouth remains lowered toward grass. Feeding occupies a large part of a cavy's day, Its incisors clip stems at the front of the mouth. The cheek teeth farther back grind the plant fibers with repeated sideways movements of the jaw. Since every tooth continues growing, chewing also helps wear away the new material that is constantly rising into place. This creates a difficult balance for a small wild grazer. The animal needs to leave cover often enough to eat. Grass contains useful fiber, yet it provides less concentrated energy than seeds, meat, or ripe fruit. A cavy therefore gains its food through many mouthfuls gathered over time. Each feeding period also exposes its rounded head and moving body above the vegetation. Predators can approach from the ground or descend from the air. Foxes, wildcats, snakes, and birds of prey all create pressure on small mammals in South American grasslands. The cavy's survival depends on noticing a change before the danger reaches it. A shadow crossing the ground may cause the body to tighten. The ears turn toward a faint sound. Chewing stops while the animal waits for more information. One common defensive pattern is immobility. The cavy holds itself still and reduces the movements that might reveal its position. A coat colored in gray, brown, and dull yellow blends with dry grass, soil, and stone. Stillness can make that camouflage more effective. A second pattern appears when several animals detect a stronger threat. The group scatters rapidly in different directions. This sudden movement makes it harder for a predator to follow one clear target. Each cavy aims for dense plants, a rock opening, or another nearby shelter. Wild cavies generally use cover already available in the landscape rather than constructing deep, complex burrows of their own. These old defensive patterns remain visible in domestic guinea pigs. A household guinea pig may freeze when an unfamiliar object moves above its enclosure. Several companions may rush towards separate hiding places after a sudden noise. Their home contains no Andean fox and no circling hawk. Yet inherited reactions can begin before the animal has identified the true source of the disturbance. Calling this behavior timid misses much of its original purpose. Quick stillness once reduced the chance of being seen. Rapid scattering helped break a predator's focus. Remaining close to shelter allowed feeding to continue without moving far into exposed ground. The same pressures also encourage social awareness. One animal lifting its head can influence the others nearby. A brief sound or sudden movement spreads information through the group. Several pairs of eyes and ears can detect more than one animal working alone. Over many generations, cavies became closely tied to places where food and cover existed side by side. Human settlements began creating exactly that kind of border. Cultivated plants grew near walls and paths. Leaves, stalks, and vegetable scraps collected around kitchens and storage areas. Stone foundations offered protected edges, while stacked materials created narrow spaces that larger animals could not easily enter. For a small grazer already accustomed to feeding beside shelter, these places offered a new extension of the landscape. The first steps toward domestication may have begun quietly along that shared boundary. Cavies that returned to cultivated edges would have found food there more reliably than in many open patches of grass. Harvested plants left behind stems, leaves, husks, and roots that people did not use. Kitchen areas produced scraps from vegetables and grains. Water gathered near homes, while walls and stacked materials created narrow hiding places close to feeding ground. A small animal could move in, eat quickly, and slip back beneath cover. These visits may have happened many times before anyone deliberately kept a cavie. Biologists describe this possible route as the commensal pathway. A commensal animal gains an advantage from living close to people, while the human community may receive little benefit at first. House mice later followed a similar pattern around stored grain. Some birds began nesting on buildings that copied the cliffs they had used before towns existed. For ancestral cavies, the attraction would have been a repeated combination of edible plants and shelter. No written account describes the first time this occurred. The earliest stages happened thousands of years before detailed records were made in the Andes. Archaeologists can study bones, settlement layers, and changes in body form. Geneticists can compare inherited patterns preserved in ancient remains and living populations. Those clues support a long relationship between cavies and people, though they cannot identify one household where domestication officially began. The process probably developed across years of repeated contact. People may first have tolerated the animals because they were small and caused limited damage. Later, someone could have blocked an opening, placed food inside an enclosed space, or moved a few animals closer to a home. Young cavies born in that setting would have experienced human sounds, smoke, footsteps, and voices from their earliest days. Their practical value was easy to recognize. A large grazing animal needs pasture, fencing, and a steady supply of water. Cavies could remain near a house and eat grasses, leafy plants, and gathered vegetation. Several could occupy a space that would be far too small for one llama or alpaca. Their short generation time also allowed a household population to grow more quickly than herds of large livestock. A female guinea pig carries her young for roughly 2 months. Her pups arrive covered in fur, with open eyes and the ability to move soon after birth. That unusual level of development made the young easier to maintain than the helpless newborns produced by many other small rodents. As people began controlling where cavies lived, the animals crossed an important biological threshold. A wild cavie that learned to accept a nearby person would be considered tame. Tameness describes the behavior of an individual during its own lifetime. Domestication develops across a population as inherited traits shift from one generation to the next. That change begins when certain animals reproduce more often under human care. People did not need a detailed breeding plan for selection to occur. A cavie that remained calmer inside an enclosure would be easier to keep. Animals capable of eating close together could share a limited feeding area with fewer conflicts. Individuals that reproduce successfully near people would leave more descendants in the household population. Those descendants might inherit part of their parents' lower aggression, stronger social tolerance, or reduced response to unfamiliar movement. This is sometimes called unconscious selection. Humans influence reproduction through ordinary choices, even when they are not trying to create a new kind of animal. An owner may keep the easier animal and remove one that escapes repeatedly. A household may allow the strongest breeding group to remain through another season. Trading a few calm animals to another settlement spreads those traits into a second population. Small choices accumulate as each generation replaces the last. Body shape can shift as well. Once food is regularly supplied, survival depends less on traveling quickly through a large territory. Natural camouflage becomes less important inside a protected household. Colors or markings that would stand out in wild grass can remain in the population because predators are no longer removing those animals at the same rate. The first domestic cavies probably still looked much closer to their wild ancestors than modern long-haired or brightly patched guinea pigs do. Their main transformation began with daily life. They ate food gathered by people. Their movements became limited by human spaces. Breeding took place among animals that could tolerate those conditions. Over centuries, the boundary between settlement and habitat became a new environment with its own pressures. No single moment created the domestic guinea pig. Repeated feeding, containment, exchange, and reproduction slowly redirected the population. The earliest stages left no spoken description behind, yet traces of them remained in teeth, jaw fragments, burial deposits, and inherited genetic material waiting beneath ancient ground. The clearest traces of those early relationships often fit inside the palm of a hand. A broken jaw may still hold one long incisor. Loose molars can survive after softer parts of the body have disappeared. Small limb bones may remain mixed with ash, pottery, food remains, or the compacted floors of an ancient home. Each fragment gains meaning from the place where it was found. A guinea pig bone recovered from open soil could have belonged to a wild animal brought home after hunting. Dozens of bones appearing repeatedly inside houses suggest a more settled relationship. Remains placed carefully beside a human burial carry a different meaning from bones bearing heat marks near a cooking area. Archaeologists record these details before removing anything from the ground. They note the depth of each object and the layers resting above or below it. A settlement may have been rebuilt many times, leaving older floors beneath newer walls. These layers allow researchers to arrange events in sequence, even when no written date survives. Material from the same layer can sometimes be dated with radiocarbon methods. This process measures the remaining amount of a radioactive form of carbon once absorbed by a living organism. Since that carbon breaks down at a known rate after death, the amount left provides an estimated age. Common summaries place established guinea pig domestication in the Andes near 5000 BC, although the earliest stage remains difficult to define precisely. A few bones near people do not prove that a population was fully domesticated. Researchers therefore compare several kinds of evidence across many sites. They measure skulls, jaw shapes, and limb proportions. Body size can change when food becomes more dependable or when people begin choosing larger animals to breed. Bone deposits may also reveal which ages were commonly kept. A managed population often contains patterns different from those created by random hunting. If young and adult animals repeatedly appear in household spaces, people may have been maintaining breeding groups nearby. The number of remains matters as well. A sudden appearance at one site could represent trade or a special ceremony. Bones found across many generations suggest that guinea pigs had become a regular part of settlement life. Physical measurements can show that a population changed, though bones alone rarely reveal where every animal came from. Genetic material adds another line of evidence. Inside most cells are tiny structures called mitochondria, which help release usable energy from food. Mitochondria carry their own small collection of DNA. This mitochondrial DNA usually passes from a mother to her young. Over many generations, small changes build up in different maternal family lines. Scientists can compare those changes across animals from distant places. A tooth or dense piece of bone may protect fragments of ancient DNA for hundreds or thousands of years. Researchers work carefully because heat, moisture, soil organisms, and modern handling can damage or contaminate it. The surviving fragments are copied and arranged until enough of the original sequence can be reconstructed. In 2020, a research team assembled 46 complete mitochondrial genomes from archaeological guinea pigs. A genome is the full set of genetic instructions being examined. These 46 maternal genomes came from remains recovered across Peru, Bolivia, Colombia, several Caribbean locations, Belgium, and the United States. The wide selection allowed researchers to compare guinea pigs separated by oceans and long spans of time. Some results followed the expected route. Early animals transported into the Caribbean carried maternal ancestry connected with Peru. European specimens also pointed toward Peruvian populations, supporting the idea that guinea pigs taken across the Atlantic came from Western South America. Other results made the story more complex. Guinea pigs from the eastern highlands of Colombia formed a distinct genetic group. Their pattern supported the possibility that people in this region domesticated a local KV population separately from the better-known process farther south. This Colombian lineage appears to have had its own history of human care. It did not become the main source of the domestic guinea pigs that later spread through Europe and much of the modern world. The discovery shows how several communities can form close relationships with related wild animals without producing a single shared domestic population. Some lineages expand through trade. Others remain within one region and may eventually disappear. Ancient mitochondrial DNA follows only the maternal side, so it cannot describe every ancestor or every movement. Future discoveries may adjust the dates and reveal additional branches. Even so, the combined evidence has already replaced a simple origin point with a wider Andean map. Jaw fragments show animals living close to settlements. Burial deposits reveal deliberate human choices. Genetic sequences connect distant populations while separating others that once looked nearly identical. Together, these traces make domestic guinea pigs visible thousands of years before anyone wrote down their story. Once they appear regularly inside homes and ceremonies, their place in Andean life can be understood through more than their bones alone. Inside Andean homes, guinea pigs became part of daily routines long before anyone used the modern language of pet ownership. Archaeological remains place them near cooking areas, storage rooms, courtyards, and packed earth floors, where people prepared food and moved through the day. Some households kept the animals in enclosed spaces close to the kitchen. Others allowed them to move through sheltered rooms, where scraps and gathered plants could be placed within easy reach. Grasses cut from nearby slopes could be carried home in bundles. Leaves, stalks, and vegetable trimmings added more food without requiring a separate field of pasture. The animals converted this rough plant material into meat within a small domestic space. A llama or alpaca needed room to graze and paths leading beyond the settlement. Several guinea pigs could live close to a household wall, protected from weather and many larger predators. Their young developed quickly, and breeding groups could be maintained without the land required by larger livestock. Across much of the Andes, guinea pigs became known as cuy. The word appears in several regional forms and is often linked with the short calls made by the animals. A hungry or excited guinea pig can produce a sharp sound that carries easily through a room. The name may have grown from people imitating those repeated notes, although its exact linguistic path is difficult to prove. Today, cuy remains an ordinary and widely understood name. In countries such as Peru, Ecuador, and Bolivia, its continued use reflects a relationship that survived major political changes, European colonization, and the growth of modern cities. For many communities, guinea pigs provided a useful source of protein that could be raised close to home. They were often prepared for family meals, festivals, or special gatherings. Their value also made them suitable for exchange. A household could give animals to relatives, trade them locally, or move breeding stock between communities. Each transfer carried more than food. It also carried inherited coat colors, body sizes, and temperaments into a new group. Guinea pigs held meanings beyond their economic use. Archaeologists have found their remains in graves and ceremonial deposits, sometimes placed carefully rather than discarded, with ordinary household waste. Such finds suggest that the animals could be connected with offerings, social identity, or beliefs about health and the body. Written accounts from later periods also describe guinea pigs in traditional healing practices. In some Andean communities, a live animal was moved over a person's body as part of a ritual examination. The guinea pig could then be interpreted as carrying signs of the illness or imbalance affecting the patient. These practices belonged to local systems of knowledge and varied across place and time. They should not be treated as one unchanging custom shared by every Andean society. Painted pottery, carved objects, and other images also show that guinea pigs were familiar enough to enter art. An animal represented in household objects or ritual material had already become more than an occasional wild catch. Its shape, sounds, and uses were part of shared cultural experience. That familiarity did not always match the modern idea of a companion animal, kept mainly for affection. A guinea pig could be useful, valued, handled often, and recognized as an individual within the same household. Practical purpose and emotional familiarity could exist together. Many farming societies form similar layered relationships with chickens, goats, or other animals living close to people. The categories of livestock and pet become less useful when applied too rigidly across different cultures and historical periods. A child might recognize one animal by its markings. An adult could know which female produced strong litters. Family members might feed a breeding group each morning while still understanding the animals as part of the household food supply. Their closeness came through repeated care, shared space, and long familiarity. That relationship continues in parts of South America today. Guinea pigs remain important in regional food traditions and local economies, especially in Peru and neighboring countries. Modern restaurants may serve carefully prepared cuy, while rural households may raise animals through methods connected with much older domestic practices. At the same time, guinea pigs are also kept as companions in South American homes, just as they are elsewhere. These different roles continue beside one another. thousands of generations spent inside human-managed spaces created pressures unlike those faced on an open hillside. Food arrived more predictably. Breeding occurred among animals chosen or retained by people. Close living rewarded individuals able to tolerate crowding and repeated human disturbance. Over time, those household conditions began reaching beneath behavior and into the animal's stress system, social habits, and inherited responses. Those household conditions favored a different kind of animal from the one that survived on an open hillside. Each generation was born into spaces where food arrived regularly, shelter remained nearby, and several cavies often lived within a limited area. Animals that tolerated those conditions reproduced more successfully under human care. Over hundreds of generations, inherited differences in behavior became part of the domestic population. Researchers can measure this change by comparing domestic guinea pigs with closely related wild cavies. One study, published in 1999, followed 5 groups of wild cavies and 7 groups of domestic guinea pigs. The researchers recorded about 120 hours of social behavior. Wild cavies showed more aggression between group members. Domestic guinea pigs spent more time in peaceful contact and displayed more courtship behavior. Courtship includes the movements and sounds animals use when seeking a mate, such as following, circling, scent investigation, and low rumbling calls. These differences suited an animal living in close quarters. A wild cavy may need to defend access to a feeding place or move away from rivals across a larger area. A domestic guinea pig has fewer opportunities to create distance. Lower aggression allows several animals to share shelter, feeding space, and familiar pathways with fewer costly confrontations. Domestication also changed how guinea pigs respond to unfamiliar surroundings. In controlled tests, wild cavies usually explore a new space more actively. They spend more time moving through it, examining boundaries and turning toward unfamiliar sights or sounds. This behavior is called orientation. It helps an animal gather information about possible food, escape routes, rivals, and danger. Domestic guinea pigs generally show less exploration in the same kind of test. Their ancestors spent many generations in places where humans supplied the most important resources. Food did not need to be located across a wide territory. Shelter was already built into the household environment. Animals that remained near a dependable feeding area could succeed without examining every distant corner. The difference extends beneath visible behavior. Small glands located above the kidneys, called the adrenal glands, help prepare the body for challenge. They release chemical messengers known as hormones. One of these hormones is cortisol. Cortisol helps move stored energy into the bloodstream, changes attention, and supports the body during unfamiliar or demanding events. Researchers often measure cortisol or related hormones in blood, saliva, or waste to estimate how strongly an animal's stress system has responded. Under comparable conditions, domestic guinea pigs tend to show lower activity in this system than wild cavies. Their resting hormone levels may be lower, and unfamiliar situations can produce a less intense rise. This does not mean that a household guinea pig cannot become frightened. A sudden movement overhead may still cause freezing. An unfamiliar sound can send several animals toward cover. The inherited defense system remains active, though domestication adjusted how easily some parts of it are triggered and how strongly the body responds. These changes involve many connected systems. Attention affects what an animal notices. Hormones influence how the body prepares for action. Aggression changes how much space individuals require from one another. Reproductive behavior affects which animals successfully produce young. Social tolerance determines whether a group can remain stable when food and shelter are concentrated in one place. No single gene creates a quality called friendliness. Behavior grows from many genes working with early experience, social surroundings, and the conditions of daily life. A guinea pig handled gently from a young age may respond differently from one with little human contact. Two animals from the same litter can also show clear differences in confidence, activity, and willingness to approach. Domestication shifts the average pattern across a population, while leaving room for individual variation. The rounded guinea pig resting beside a companion, therefore, carries changes that reach far beyond coat color or body shape. Its calmer social contact reflects generations spent near other animals. Its reduced need to explore connects with dependable human-provided resources. Its hormonal response has been adjusted by the conditions in which its ancestors survived and reproduced. Greater tolerance made crowded domestic life possible, and crowded life created a growing need for signals that could organize feeding, courtship, distance, and safety within the group. Within a stable group, tolerance becomes a daily system of movement, distance, and shared attention. Guinea pigs often rest with their bodies touching or settle only a few centimeters apart, beneath the same shelter. One may begin eating hay, and a companion soon joins from the other side of the pile. A guinea pig crossing the enclosure can draw another along behind it, especially when the movement leads toward food or a familiar hiding place. These small responses show how closely each animal watches the others. Guinea pigs are gregarious, meaning they naturally live with members of their own species. Their groups are sometimes described as herds, although they are much smaller and looser than the herds formed by animals such as horses or cattle. A wild cavy group may include one adult male, several females, and their young. Domestic groups can take different forms depending on the animal's sex, age, and previous experience. Life together develops through repeated signals. Two guinea pigs meeting near a preferred shelter may lift their heads and hold their bodies slightly higher. The taller posture can communicate confidence without requiring a fight. A male may produce a low, vibrating rumble while walking slowly around another animal. Scent investigation provides information about identity, sex, and reproductive condition. Mounting can appear during courtship, though it may also help establish social position. Short chases sometimes occur as animals decide who yields a pathway or moves away from a resting place. A social hierarchy grows from these interactions. Hierarchy means that group members develop fairly predictable relationships over access to space, food, and companions. One animal may usually take the preferred corner first. Another may step aside when approached near a bowl. These patterns reduce the need to settle every encounter through biting or prolonged chasing. Most of the day can remain peaceful once the group understands those relationships. Shared vigilance adds another advantage. A guinea pig feeding with its head lowered cannot watch every direction at once. A nearby companion may notice a moving shadow, an unfamiliar sound, or a person entering the room, its ears turn. The body becomes still. Other animals often pause after detecting that change. Information can spread through posture before any call is made. Researchers use the term social buffering for the way a familiar companion can reduce the effects of a stressful situation. An animal facing something unfamiliar alone must gather all of the available information itself. The presence of a known group member provides an extra source of clues. If the companion continues feeding, the situation may be less urgent. A sudden rush toward cover can trigger the same movement throughout the group. This shared system does not remove fear, yet it can reduce uncertainty. Companionship also helps with warmth. Guinea pigs do not tolerate temperature extremes well, and several animals may rest close together when their surroundings become cool. Physical contact preserves heat around the body and gives each animal a protected side. The relationship still depends on compatibility. Two unfamiliar guinea pigs cannot always be placed together and expected to cooperate immediately. Adult males may compete strongly, especially when females are nearby. Young animals sometimes fit into an established group more easily than mature strangers. Temperament changes the outcome as well. A confident guinea pig may approach quickly, while a cautious animal needs more time and space. Previous social experience influences how each one reads another animal's signals. The environment can either soften or increase these tensions. A single narrow shelter may become a resource that one guinea pig guards. Housing with several covered areas gives animals choices when they need distance. Shelters with two openings allow an animal to leave without passing the companion standing at the entrance. Separate piles of hay or widely spaced feeding points make it harder for one group member to control all of the food. These arrangements work with guinea pig social behavior rather than forcing every interaction into the same small location. Human companionship can provide familiar voices, gentle handling, and dependable routines. Another guinea pig supplies forms of communication that people cannot reproduce with complete accuracy. Its scent changes throughout the day. Its posture carries immediate information. Tiny movements near the ground can be noticed before a person would recognize them. For a social cavy, companionship is part of the system used to judge safety, organize space, and move through ordinary life. Much of that coordination occurs silently through bodies and movement. When distance or blocked sight makes those signals harder to see, the group relies on a richer system of whistles, rumbles, and short calls. The familiar food call often begins before a guinea pig can see what is happening. A refrigerator door opens in another room. A plastic bag rustles near the counter. Footsteps pause beside the place where vegetables are usually prepared. Within seconds, a high repeated whistle may rise from the enclosure. Many owners call this sound a wheek because its sharp notes resemble that spoken word. The guinea pig has learned that certain household events regularly occur before food arrives. A refrigerator has no built-in meaning to the animal. Its sound becomes useful through association. Association happens when one event repeatedly predicts another. After enough pairings, the first event can produce attention, movement, or calling before the expected reward appears. This explains why one guinea pig may whistle when a cupboard opens, while another responds to a chopping board or the footsteps of a particular person. Their learning follows the routines of the homes in which they live. Food whistles form only one part of a much wider vocal system. Researchers have described roughly 7 to 11 main guinea pig call types. The number changes because scientists do not always divide similar sounds in the same way. One team may place 2 closely related squeaks in a single category. Another may separate them because their pitch, length, or social setting differs. Higher whistles often occur during separation, anticipation, or attempts to regain contact. Short squeaks can accompany sudden discomfort, surprise, or close social interaction. Lower rumbling sounds appear during courtship and displays of social position. A guinea pig producing this rumble may walk slowly, sway its hindquarters, and circle another animal. Some calls sound like a soft purr. Their meaning depends strongly on the body producing them. A relaxed animal resting with loose muscles creates a different picture from one holding itself stiffly while making a similar low vibration. Chutters contain a series of quick, clipped sounds. They may appear during mild irritation or social tension, especially when one animal wants more distance. Chirping is much less common. It can continue in repeated bird-like notes and remains difficult to connect with one dependable situation. Reports describe it during stress, isolation, or apparently calm periods, which makes careful interpretation important. A call gains meaning from more than its name. Pitch tells us how high or low the sound is. Length describes how long each note lasts. The speed of repetition changes the effect of a whistle or squeak. Volume may reflect distance, arousal, or the strength of the animal's response. Body position adds information that sound alone cannot provide. Raised fur, a lifted head, slow movement, or sudden stillness can change how nearby guinea pigs respond. The surrounding group matters as well. A low rumble directed toward a potential mate belongs to a different situation from a low sound made while an unfamiliar animal approaches a shelter. Researchers study these calls by recording them and examining their sound waves. A visual display called a spectrogram shows frequency over time. Frequency describes how quickly sound waves vibrate and helps determine pitch. On a spectrogram, a short squeak produces a different pattern from a long whistle or a broken series of chutters. These measurements allow scientists to compare calls that may sound nearly identical to human ears. Learning experiments reveal that guinea pigs can also pay attention to the structure of sounds around them. In conditioning tests, an animal hears a particular sound before a meaningful event such as food. After repeated pairings, the sound alone begins to produce a response. Researchers can then change parts of the signal. They may alter its pitch, shorten its length, or adjust another acoustic feature. Guinea pigs sometimes continue responding to the modified version. This ability is called generalization. It allows an animal to recognize a useful pattern even when the signal is slightly different. A familiar person rarely closes a door with exactly the same force each time. Bags crinkle at changing volumes. Voices shift in pitch from one moment to another. Generalization keeps those cues useful despite small variations. Vocal communication also suits the low world in which cavies evolved. grass can block a clear view after only a short distance. Rocks and dense plants separate one animal from another. A whistle can travel over the vegetation, while the caller remains hidden. Lower sounds work at close range during courtship or social negotiation. Short calls can pass information before every member of the group has located the source. These signals begin mattering almost as soon as a guinea pig enters the world. Unlike the helpless newborns of many rodents, guinea pig pups arrive able to see, hear, move, and begin following the adults around them. A newborn guinea pig enters that social world with an unusual amount of work already completed. Many familiar rodents begin life in a far more helpless condition. Newborn mice and rats arrive hairless, with closed eyes, folded ears, and bodies that depend almost completely on the nest. Their movements remain limited during the first days, while sight and hearing develop after birth. A guinea pig pup follows a different timetable. It is born covered in fur. Its eyes are open. Its ears can respond to sound, and its teeth have already erupted through the gums. Within a short time, the pup can stand on all 4 feet and move beside its mother. This kind of advanced newborn is called precocial. A precocial animal completes a larger share of its early development inside the mother's body. The word is also used for animals such as horses and sheep, whose young can stand and follow soon after birth. Guinea pigs are much smaller, yet their pups arrive with many of the same basic abilities. That development requires a pregnancy far longer than people might expect from an animal of this size. A mouse carries its young for about 3 weeks. A rat's pregnancy also lasts a little over 3 weeks. Guinea pig gestation usually continues for between 59 and 72 days. The average is close to 68 days, which is more than twice the pregnancy length of many other small rodents. During those weeks, the pups grow fur, develop working senses, form strong limbs, and build teeth capable of meeting solid food. A typical litter contains 2 to 4 pups. Smaller or larger litters can occur, though litter size affects the space and nutrients available to each developing young. A newborn commonly weighs around 100 to 120 grams. Some weigh closer to 45 grams, especially when several pups have shared the uterus. That lower weight is significant for an animal whose adult body may eventually reach about 1 kilogram. A pup weighing 100 grams already has roughly 1/10 of that future mass at birth. Its size helps explain the rounded shape of a heavily pregnant mother near the end of gestation. Each pup occupies physical space and requires a steady supply of oxygen and nutrients through the placenta. The placenta is the temporary organ connecting a developing pup to its mother. It allows oxygen and useful materials from her bloodstream to reach the young while carrying waste products away. A longer pregnancy gives the pups time to become mobile, though it also places substantial demands on the mother. She must support her own tissues while building several well-developed bodies at once. Her heart and lungs work harder as pregnancy advances. The growing litter leaves less room inside the abdomen, while the mother's need for energy and vitamin C rises. Large pups can also make delivery physically difficult. This creates the central trade-off of the guinea pig's reproductive strategy. More development before birth reduces the period when the young are blind and unable to move. The mother carries much of that developmental cost inside her body instead. Once the pups arrive, they can begin following the group almost immediately. They still nurse and depend on their mother's milk during early life. At the same time, they may investigate hay, leafy plants, and other solid foods within the first day. A pup watches where older guinea pigs gather and follows movement toward cover. Its open ears receive the whistles and lower calls passing through the group. A sudden rush by the adults can send the young in the same direction before they have much experience of their own. This early mobility would have been useful in open South American habitats. A pup able to move with its mother was less likely to remain alone in an exposed nest. It could enter shelter with the group and begin learning feeding routes almost at once. The same pattern also helped guinea pigs succeed under human care. Household populations did not need a separate nest filled with silent, immobile young for several weeks. Pups could remain near the adults, sample the food already being supplied, and join the daily movement of the group. Their advanced development made small domestic populations easier to maintain and exchange between households. That advantage came with real biological costs, especially for the mother, but it gave each surviving pup an unusually capable beginning. The first strands of grass entering that tiny mouth reveal how much of the guinea pig's body is already prepared for a life built around fiber. A thin strand of hay entering a young guinea pig's mouth begins a long journey through a digestive system built for fibrous plants. The front incisors clip the strand into a manageable length. Cheek teeth farther back grind it with steady sideways movements of the jaw. Saliva moistens the crushed plant material before it passes down the esophagus, the muscular tube leading into the stomach. A guinea pig has one main stomach chamber. Animals with this arrangement are called monogastric, which simply means single-stomached. The stomach begins breaking food apart with acid and digestive chemicals. From there, the softened material enters the small intestine. Proteins, sugars, fats, vitamins, and minerals that are easy to release can move through the intestinal wall and into the bloodstream. Much of the hay remains difficult to use at this stage. Grass stems contain cellulose, a tough material that strengthens plant cell walls. A guinea pig's own digestive enzymes cannot break cellulose apart efficiently. The body solves this problem by sending fiber into the hindgut, the later part of the digestive system. This is where an enlarged pouch called the cecum becomes important. The cecum sits near the meeting point of the small and large intestines. In a guinea pig, it can hold as much as roughly 65% of the material inside the entire digestive tract. That large volume shows how much internal space is devoted to processing plants. Billions of microorganisms live inside the cecum. Most are bacteria adapted to warm, moist, low oxygen conditions. They feed on plant fibers that pass through the earlier stages without being fully digested. Their activity is called fermentation. During fermentation, microbes break large plant molecules into smaller compounds that the guinea pig can absorb and use for energy. One important group of products is known as short-chain fatty acids. These small fatty acids pass through the wall of the hindgut and help fuel the body. Microbes also produce useful vitamins and proteins as they grow. A difficulty remains because many of those nutrients are created after the food has already passed through the small intestine, where absorption is especially effective. Guinea pigs recover them through a normal process called psychotrophy. The cecum forms soft, nutrient-rich material that leaves the body separately from the firm, dry droppings usually seen around an enclosure. The guinea pig takes this softer material directly from the body and swallows it. Food then passes through the stomach and small intestine again. This second journey allows vitamins, microbial proteins, and other useful compounds to reach areas where they can be absorbed more completely. The behavior may happen so quickly and quietly that a person nearby barely notices it. Its purpose is nutritional, and it forms an essential part of normal guinea pig digestion. Food movement through this system takes time. Older physiological summaries often describe an average gastrointestinal transit of around 20 hours. That figure attempts to represent movement through the digestive tract as a whole. A study published in 2021 used visible markers mixed into food and recorded roughly 5 hours before the first marked material appeared in the droppings. These measurements describe different points in the journey. First appearance records the fastest portion reaching the end. Average total transit includes slower material moving through fermentation chambers and later intestinal loops. A piece of food may therefore begin appearing after several hours, while other parts of the same meal remain inside much longer. Constant access to fiber helps keep this movement steady. Long strands of hay encourage repeated chewing and add bulk that supports normal muscular contractions in the intestines. Those contractions, called peristalsis, move food forward through waves of tightening and relaxing muscle. A guinea pig eats many small amounts across the day because its digestive system works best with a regular flow of plant material. Long empty periods can disturb movement and the microbial community living in the cecum. The hay pile beside a resting guinea pig therefore supports more than appetite. Each mouthful feeds the animal and the microorganisms working inside it. Chewing prepares the fiber, fermentation releases hidden energy, and psychotrophy recovers nutrients made later in the process. The same coarse strands also press and slide across a set of teeth that continues growing throughout the animal's life. Before hay can support the cecum and its microbial community, it must pass through a mouth built for constant work. An adult guinea pig has 20 teeth. The 4 visible teeth at the front are incisors, with one pair in the upper jaw and another in the lower jaw. These sharp teeth meet like narrow blades and cut long stems into lengths the animal can draw farther into its mouth. Behind the incisors is a wide space without teeth. This gap, called a diastema, separates the cutting area from the grinding surfaces hidden near the cheeks. A person looking at a guinea pig may never see those rear teeth clearly. They include 4 premolars and 12 molars, divided evenly between the upper and lower jaws. Together, these 16 cheek teeth do most of the slow crushing required to prepare grass and hay for digestion. The lower jaw moves partly from side to side while the guinea pig chews. This motion slides the upper and lower tooth surfaces across each other. Fibrous stems are pressed between them and broken into smaller pieces before they are swallowed. A fresh strand may disappear gradually into one side of the mouth as the jaw continues its steady rhythm. Every tooth in this system keeps growing throughout the guinea pig's life. The roots remain open at their deepest ends, allowing new dental tissue to continue forming. A human tooth finishes developing and settles into a mostly fixed adult size. A guinea pig tooth keeps moving outward as new material grows below it. The teeth are also long-crowned. Much of each tooth extends beneath the visible gum line, creating a deep reserve that slowly advances toward the mouth. Only a small portion of the full structure can be seen during an ordinary examination. The word erupting describes this gradual movement into working position. It does not mean that a new tooth suddenly appears. New material forms deep inside, while the older surface is pushed outward and worn away during feeding. Published measurements suggest that guinea pig incisors may grow by roughly 1 to 2 millimeters each week. The exact rate differs between animals and may vary between the upper and lower teeth. Over a full year, even 1 millimeter per week would add up to more than 5 centimeters of new tooth material. Normal wear prevents that growth from becoming visible as a long, uncontrolled tooth. Balance depends on the way the mouth closes. Opposing teeth must meet at the correct angles, so their surfaces wear one another evenly. Jaw muscles also need to guide the lower teeth through their natural chewing path. Fibrous food increases the time spent performing those movements. Hay requires far more repeated grinding than soft fruit or a small piece of prepared food. Its rough surface also adds gentle abrasion. Abrasion is the gradual wearing produced when two surfaces rub together. The goal is not to grind the teeth down quickly. Normal feeding removes small amounts while fresh dental tissue rises at a similar pace. Incisors and cheek teeth work as one connected system. The front teeth shorten plant material, while the hidden rear teeth prepare it for the digestive tract. A problem in one area can change how the entire jaw moves. If a tooth grows at an unusual angle, the opposing surface may no longer wear it properly. Uneven pressure can then alter the chewing pattern and affect nearby teeth. This helps explain why the front incisors do not provide a complete picture of dental health. They may appear fairly normal, while changes are developing around the premolars or molars farther back. A wooden object can provide enrichment and an extra surface to investigate, though it cannot replace the long chewing movements created by grass hay. The rear teeth need repeated contact during side-to-side grinding. Short bites on a hard object use the mouth differently and usually occupy much less time. The same food therefore supports two closely linked systems. Hay keeps the jaw moving through the pattern that manages tooth growth. After swallowing, its fiber continues into the hindgut and feeds the microorganisms living there. The quiet sound of chewing beside a hay pile reflects a precise balance between growth and wear, repeated thousands of times across the day. Even this efficient arrangement leaves one important need unsolved. Guinea pigs depend on their food for a vitamin that most mammals can manufacture inside their own bodies. Inside the guinea pig's body, plant food must supply something that chewing and fermentation cannot create. Most mammals manufacture their own vitamin C through a chain of chemical reactions. Each reaction changes one molecule into another until the finished vitamin is produced. Guinea pigs cannot complete the final step in that chain. The gene responsible for making an enzyme called L-galonolactone oxidase no longer works properly in their species. An enzyme is a protein that helps a chemical reaction happen inside the body. Without this final enzyme, the production pathway stops before vitamin C is formed. The guinea pig must therefore obtain a regular supply from food. Humans share this same general limitation, along with other primates and a small number of additional mammals. For many other animals, the liver or kidneys quietly produce the vitamin each day. A guinea pig depends on leaves, vegetables, fortified food, or other suitable dietary sources to provide it from the outside. Vitamin C is also known as ascorbic acid. Its most important roles involve building and maintaining collagen. Collagen is a strong structural protein found throughout the body. It helps support skin and blood vessels, while forming part of tendons, ligaments, cartilage, and other connective tissues. The gums around the teeth also depend on healthy collagen. So do the tissues that help hold each continuously growing tooth securely within the jaw. Vitamin C is therefore connected with several systems already familiar in the guinea pig. Strong gums support the mouth during constant chewing. Healthy blood vessels carry oxygen and nutrients into tissues. Connective structures help joints remain stable as the animal walks, runs, and rises onto its hind legs. The vitamin also supports healing when ordinary wear causes tiny amounts of tissue damage. A guinea pig weighing 1 kilogram generally requires at least about 10 milligrams of vitamin C each day. That amount is only 1/100th of a gram. Yet the body cannot simply go without it. Requirements may rise during pregnancy because the mother is building the skin, blood vessels, cartilage, and connective tissue of several developing pups. Young animals also need the vitamin while their bodies are growing quickly. The daily amount sounds small, though supplying it reliably requires some care because vitamin C is chemically fragile. Heat speeds its breakdown. Bright light can damage it. Moisture and exposure to air gradually reduce the amount remaining in stored food. A sealed package of fortified pellets may contain the stated level when it leaves the manufacturer. After the bag is opened, the vitamin slowly declines as oxygen and humidity enter. Warm storage conditions can make that loss happen more quickly. Water creates another problem. Vitamin C dissolves easily, yet it may break down inside a water bottle before much of it is consumed. Light passing through a clear bottle can speed the process, while the changing taste may cause some animals to drink less. Fresh food carries its own variation. The amount present depends on the plant species, growing conditions, storage time, and preparation. A leafy vegetable eaten soon after harvesting may retain more than the same plant left for many days in a warm kitchen. This instability explains why guinea pigs benefit from a dependable feeding pattern rather than one occasional large serving. Their bodies use vitamin C continuously and store only a limited reserve. A steady supply replaces what is being consumed and lost. When too little is available over time, collagen production begins to weaken. Gums may become less secure, healing slows, and movement can become uncomfortable as connective tissues lose strength. The change develops because a molecular building process has been interrupted, even though the animal may still have food in its stomach and fiber moving through its cecum. For ancient Andean households, suitable vegetation probably supplied this need without anyone knowing the name of the vitamin or the missing enzyme. Fresh grasses, leaves, and other plant foods carried enough ascorbic acid to keep domestic populations alive and reproducing. People learned through practice which food supported healthy animals. That knowledge could travel without being written as chemistry. Moving guinea pigs into a new valley, onto an island, or eventually across an ocean required more than a container. Their human keepers also had to preserve the feeding routines that supported teeth, digestion, and this invisible chemical dependence. Wherever the animals traveled, an appropriate supply of plants had to travel with them. Keeping guinea pigs alive during travel required more than carrying the animals themselves. They needed a steady supply of grasses, leaves, or other plant food rich enough to support digestion and provide vitamin C. Simple baskets, woven containers, or enclosed household spaces could limit escape while allowing air to move through. People also had to recognize that a guinea pig feeds repeatedly across the day. An animal carried between settlements could not be treated like an object packed away until the journey ended. Its body continued chewing, fermenting fiber, and using nutrients during every stage of the route. Within the Andes, travel often meant crossing sharp changes in elevation over relatively short distances. A path might begin in a cool highland valley and descend toward warmer farmland. Other routes connected dry inland slopes with greener river systems or coastal settlements. Beside the Pacific Ocean, people moved through these regions for trade, seasonal work, family visits, political duties, and religious gatherings. Guinea pigs could travel with them as gifts, food animals, breeding stock, or ceremonial offerings. A household sending 2 healthy females to relatives in another valley was also moving a small piece of its own breeding population. Those animals carried inherited coat colors, body size, fertility, and temperament into a new community. If they reproduced there, their traits became part of the local group. Repeated transfers could spread one maternal family line across hundreds of kilometers. Mountain roads did not need to carry huge numbers at once. A few animals moved successfully between households could establish a population that grew over later generations. This slow expansion helps explain why domestic guinea pigs appeared far beyond the places where their wild ancestors had first entered human life. Genetic evidence also shows that the domestic story contained more than one branch. The guinea pigs associated with the eastern highlands of Colombia formed a maternal lineage distinct from the better-known populations farther south. Their DNA supports the possibility that people there domesticated local cavies through a separate process. That Colombian population had its own long relationship with human communities. Its descendants did not become the main source of the guinea pigs, later carried across Europe and much of the modern world. The globally widespread lineage appears to have come mainly from Peru. This difference reveals how human transport can shape the future of a domestic animal. A lineage connected with busy trade routes may spread into many regions. One kept within a smaller network can remain local for centuries. If that population later declines or mixes completely with imported animals, much of its separate history may disappear. Movement therefore acts like a filter. Certain family lines travel farther because they are available at the right settlement, valued by influential communities, or carried along a route that reaches new territory. Other lineages remain close to their original homes, even when they are equally well domesticated. The Peruvian branch traveled beyond the South American mainland before European ships entered the story. Archaeologists have recovered guinea pig remains from Caribbean sites dating to the pre-European period. Ancient mitochondrial DNA links those island animals with Peruvian ancestry. That connection shows that people transported guinea pigs over very long distances within the Americas. The journey required movement down from the Andes, passage through coastal exchange systems, and travel by water toward islands separated from the continent. No single surviving record describes each transfer. The genetic pattern preserves the result. An animal first domesticated among Andean settlements had reached the Caribbean through indigenous networks before sustained European colonization began. Island populations would have required the same daily knowledge that supported guinea pigs in the mountains. People needed suitable vegetation and secure places for the animals to breed. Young had to survive long enough to establish new groups. Fresh animals or breeding partners may have arrived through later exchanges, keeping the population connected with wider trade routes. The scale of movement grew through many ordinary acts. One family carried animals to another valley. Traders moved breeding stock toward the coast. Seafarers transported guinea pigs across open water and maintained them after reaching an island. Across generations, those small journeys connected domestic populations over a large part of the Western and Central Americas. By the early 16th century, guinea pigs had already traveled far beyond their ancestral mountain habitats. Then European vessels entered South American ports with storage space, sailing crews, and routes that crossed the Atlantic Ocean. The old networks of valleys, coasts, and islands were about to connect with ships capable of carrying a domestic cavy to an entirely different continent. European ships began carrying guinea pigs away from South America during the 16th century. No surviving record identifies one vessel as the first to transport them. The movement likely developed gradually after Spanish sailors, merchants, officials, and settlers established regular contact with ports along the western side of the continent. Animals raised in Peru could pass from inland households toward coastal towns, then enter the same trading systems that moved food, textiles, metals, plants, and other unfamiliar living things. A guinea pig was easier to place aboard a wooden sailing ship than most domestic animals. Its body weighed around a kilogram or less. Several animals could fit inside a ventilated crate, basket, or small pen, without requiring the deck space needed by goats, pigs, or cattle. They ate plant material that could be dried, gathered during stops, or taken from supplies already carried for the crew and other animals. Small size made transport possible, though it did not make the journey effortless. Guinea pigs needed air moving through their container. Fresh water had to remain available despite the rolling and pitching of the ship. Food needed enough fiber to keep digestion working, along with plant material that supplied vitamin C. Their enclosures also had to stay dry enough to reduce chilling and skin problems during weeks at sea. A voyage between the Americas and Europe could continue for many weeks, depending on winds, weather, route, and the number of stops. Ships crossing the Atlantic often followed broad wind patterns rather than traveling in a straight line. A guinea pig carried from Peru might first move north or east through colonial trade networks before beginning the ocean crossing. The exact path of any one early animal has been lost. Genetic evidence still preserves part of the larger route. Researchers have recovered mitochondrial DNA from archaeological guinea pig remains found in Europe. The maternal lineages in those specimens connect most closely with Peruvian populations. That result agrees with the wider pattern, showing that the globally successful domestic branch came mainly from Western South America. The separate domestic lineage once found in the Colombian highlands does not appear to have supplied the earliest known European animals. Arrival in Europe changed the meaning of the guinea pig almost immediately. In Andean communities, the animal was familiar and useful. People had raised it for generations, understood how to feed it, and included it in household economies and cultural practices. Across the Atlantic, the same small rodent became rare. Its distant origin made it unusual enough to attract attention. A family able to obtain one was displaying access to trade routes that reached beyond Europe. Coat color added to the effect. A guinea pig with white, brown, and black patches would have looked especially striking beside the more familiar animals of a European household. Its rounded shape, short ears, and high calls also made it difficult to place among known species. Scarcity could raise its value. A useful domestic animal from one continent became a curiosity on another because few people had seen it, and even fewer knew where it truly belonged. The change happened in human perception rather than in the guinea pig's body. It still needed fibrous food. Its teeth continued growing. The same social signals passed between companions. An unfamiliar movement could still trigger freezing or a sudden rush toward cover. Geography changed the animal's status while its inherited biology traveled with it. Early guinea pigs did not spread evenly through Europe. They were probably concentrated in ports, wealthy households, trading centers, and places connected with overseas exchange. Most Europeans during the 16th century would never have seen one. Physical evidence from this period remains rare, which fits an animal kept in small numbers, rather than one already common in farms and markets. A few bones beneath a manor floor or cellar can therefore carry unusual importance. Painted examples matter for the same reason. They show that some animals survived the voyage, entered domestic spaces, and became valuable enough to appear beside people in formal portraits. Over later generations, breeding populations expanded and the guinea pig became more accessible. Its first European chapter remained narrow, shaped by distance and novelty. The continent now possessed a South American cavy, yet the English name eventually attached to it pointed toward Africa and compared it with a pig. That familiar label would preserve the confusion of arrival, while hiding the route the animal had actually traveled. By the time guinea pigs had begun appearing in European homes, their original South American identity had become difficult to see. The English name joined together two ideas that pointed in the wrong direction. The animal belongs to the rodent order, and its ancestry lies in the Andes. Its history has no biological connection with swine, and wild guinea pigs never lived in the West African region called Guinea. The word pig may have felt reasonable to people encountering the animal for the first time. A guinea pig has a rounded body, a short neck, and a strong appetite. Its calls can include squeals, grunts, and low rumbling sounds that may have reminded European listeners of small pigs. Its compact shape also lacked the long tail that many people expected to see on a rodent. Faced with an unfamiliar species, people often borrowed the name of a familiar animal that shared one obvious feature. Prairie dogs, for example, were named for their barking calls. The guinea pig entered English through the same broad habit of naming by resemblance. The word Guinea is much harder to explain. During the 16th and 17th centuries, European trade connected ports across Africa, the Americas, and the Atlantic islands. Goods often passed through several ships and markets before reaching the person who eventually bought them. The place where an object was purchased could become confused with the place where it had originally come from. One proposal suggests that guinea pigs reached England on vessels connected with trade through Guinea or ports associated with that name. A buyer may then have assumed that the animal came from the same region as the ship or merchant. Another possibility is that Guinea became a loose label for something distant or imported. European language did not always preserve precise geography when describing plants, fabrics, coins, or animals arriving through long trade routes. The name may therefore reflect a general sense of foreign origin, rather than one clearly identified location. Some explanations connect the word with Guyana in northeastern South America. The two place names can sound similar in English, and both appeared in European accounts of distant Atlantic lands. Direct evidence for this change in pronunciation remains limited, so it should be treated as a possibility rather than a settled answer. The uncertainty has lasted because the name was already established before anyone recorded a clear explanation for choosing it. Merriam-Webster dates the first known English use of guinea pig to 1664. By then, the animals had probably been present in Europe for many decades. The earliest people who handled and traded them may have used other words that never appeared in surviving printed records. Once guinea pig entered common speech, later generations inherited the label without needing to know how it began. Common names often preserve old trade routes, local comparisons, and mistaken assumptions. They can remain useful in daily conversation, even when their literal meaning is inaccurate. Scientific classification follows a different purpose. The word cavy refers to members of the family Caviidae and connects the domestic animal with its actual South American relatives. Domestic guinea pigs belong to the genus Cavia, alongside several wild species adapted to grasslands, scrub, and rocky ground. Cavy therefore gives a clearer biological picture than the familiar English name. It places the animal beside the montane cavy and other related rodents rather than beside pigs. Even this more accurate word has its own history, developing through European attempts to record names used in the Americas. Language rarely arrives untouched when it passes between cultures. For modern owners, guinea pig remains the name found on food packages, veterinary records, and household conversations. It has become too familiar to disappear simply because its geography is wrong. The contradiction now forms part of the animal's cultural identity. A name created after an ocean crossing can hide the species' origin, while still becoming recognized around the world. Words alone cannot show exactly when guinea pigs entered particular European rooms, or which families first kept them. More dependable clues survive in paint, bone, and dated layers of soil. A tricolored animal held in a 16th century portrait and a small skeleton beneath an English manor provide a clearer view of the cavy's first European households. Around 1580, an unknown English artist painted 3 children standing together in elaborate Elizabethan clothing. Their garments include stiff collars, fitted sleeves, embroidered fabric, and carefully arranged accessories that would have required skilled work and costly materials. The child in the center holds a small guinea pig against the front of a pale dress. Its coat is divided into patches of brown, white, and cream. The animal's rounded body rests across two hands, with its short ears raised and its dark eye facing outward. The National Portrait Gallery has described this painting as possibly the earliest known European portrait to include a guinea pig. Its exact artist and the identities of the children remain uncertain. The details still place the picture firmly within a wealthy household during the late 16th century. Formal portraits required time, money, and access to a trained painter. Clothing was chosen carefully because every visible object could communicate family position, education, or prosperity. The guinea pig carried meaning within that arrangement. Few people in England would have seen one during this period. An animal transported through trade networks reaching South America showed that the household had access to rare goods and distant connections. Its unusual coat also made it suitable for display. The white and brown patches stand out clearly against the child's clothing, allowing the small animal to become one of the most noticeable objects in the painting. The image records more than wealth. It also shows a living guinea pig being held close to the body. The child supports it securely rather than presenting it inside a cage or beside a hunting scene. This posture suggests familiarity with handling the animal, even though a painting cannot reveal the full relationship between them. Archaeology provides another kind of evidence from nearly the same period. At Hill Hall in Essex, researchers recovered part of a guinea pig skeleton from an Elizabethan manor. The remains were dated to around 1575, placing the animal in England slightly before or very near the time of the portrait. Hill Hall belonged to Sir Thomas Smith, a diplomat and scholar who served under Queen Elizabeth I. His household had the wealth and international connections needed to obtain an imported animal. The bones confirm that guinea pigs were physically present in English domestic spaces. A portrait can be shaped by symbolism, fashion, and the painter's choices. A skeleton beneath a manor records an animal that lived, died, and entered the household's archaeological remains. The Hill Hall specimen also helps establish chronology. Guinea pigs had reached England by the final quarter of the 16th century, only several decades after sustained European contact with the western side of South America. Their journey from Andean domestic life into an English manor happened within a relatively short historical interval. Evidence from Mons in present-day Belgium widens the picture beyond England. Archaeologists found guinea pig remains in a cellar deposit dating to the late 16th century. Mons was connected to busy commercial routes through the Low Countries, a region that linked inland European towns with major ports and international trade. The cellar specimen shows that guinea pigs had entered more than one European network. They were appearing in households separated by the English Channel and connected through different political and commercial systems. These early animals were probably uncommon. Their remains occur only rarely compared with the bones of chickens, sheep, cattle, and other familiar domestic species. A prosperous household had a much greater chance of obtaining one than an ordinary rural laborer. The surviving evidence does not confine guinea pigs entirely to royal palaces. Hill Hall belonged to an elite household, though it was not the residence of a monarch. The Mons find came from an urban setting rather than a royal collection. Imported animals could move outward through merchants, diplomats, scholars, and families linked with overseas trade. As breeding populations became established, scarcity would gradually decrease. A pair of guinea pigs could produce several developed young after a pregnancy, lasting a little over 2 months. Those offspring could remain within the household or pass to another owner. Each successful litter made the species slightly less dependent on fresh arrivals from South America. The portrait and the excavated bones capture the beginning of that change. A rare imported cavy had become an animal that could survive, reproduce, and be recognized inside European domestic life. Human attention soon began moving toward the visible differences between individuals. A smooth coat, an unusual patch of white, or a circular change in hair direction could influence which animals were kept for breeding. Appearance itself was becoming a force capable of reshaping the guinea pig once again. The tricolored guinea pig in the Elizabethan portrait already showed how strongly appearance could shape human attention. Its brown, white, and cream patches made the animal stand out against the child's pale clothing. Once guinea pigs began breeding inside European households, people could choose which colors and coat types continued into later generations. Small inherited differences were already present within the population. One animal might grow slightly longer hair. Another might carry a patch of white where its parents had darker fur. A circular change in hair direction could form on the shoulders or back. When people repeatedly paired animals with a preferred feature, that feature became more common among their descendants. This process is called artificial selection. The word artificial refers to human choice, guiding reproduction. The underlying variation still comes from genes, which are pieces of inherited information passed from parents to young. Genes help control how pigment is produced, how long hair grows, and the direction in which each strand leaves the skin. They also influence whether the coat lies flat, forms curls, or develops a dense, springy texture. A smooth-coated American guinea pig shows one of the simplest modern forms. Its short hair lies close to the body and usually needs little grooming. The clear outline makes the rounded shoulders and broad head easy to see. An Abyssinian looks very different because its hair grows in several circular patterns called rosettes. Each rosette has a center from which the surrounding fur points outward. Breed standards often favor 8 to 10 well-placed rosettes, though individual animals vary. The ridges where neighboring rosettes meet give the coat a rough, raised appearance. Peruvian guinea pigs carry genes for extremely long hair. The coat can continue growing until it trails behind the body and may reach the floor on both sides. Hair also grows forward over the head, sometimes partly covering the face. A silkie has a similarly long coat, though the hair usually sweeps backward from the head instead of falling forward. The teddy's short coat grows densely and stands away from the body. Its texture can feel firm or plush because the hairs do not lie flat. A texel combines long hair with curls, creating loops and waves across the body. Crested guinea pigs have a single rosette on the forehead, forming a small circular crown of fur. Satin coats are defined by the structure of the individual hairs. Light passes through the hair differently, creating an unusually bright sheen. That shine may look attractive, though the satin trait has also been linked with serious bone and mineral problems in some breeding lines. Hairless varieties show how far selective breeding can move from the ancestral coat. The skinny pig usually has exposed skin across most of the body, with small amounts of hair around the nose and feet. The Baldwin begins life with fur and gradually loses it during the first months. Without a full coat, these guinea pigs lose body heat more quickly and need greater protection from cold surfaces, drafts, and strong sunlight. Modern classification systems divide this diversity in different ways. One Smithsonian summary recognizes 13 guinea pig breeds. It also describes 20 color phenotypes and 13 coat length or texture phenotypes. A phenotype is a visible trait produced by genes interacting with development and the environment. Color categories may include black, cream, red, white, and several diluted shades. Patterns can produce solid coats, patches, bands, ticking, or mixtures in which individual hairs contain more than one color. Every one of these forms still belongs to the same domestic species, Cavia porcellus. A long-haired Peruvian and a smooth American can produce young because their differences developed within one shared breeding population. Selective breeding changed visible features far more quickly than natural evolution usually would in the wild. A very long coat would catch on plants and hold moisture. Bright white patches would make camouflage less effective. Hairlessness would offer little protection during a cold Andean night. Human homes allowed these traits to survive because people supplied shelter and food. Appearance also created new practical needs. Long coats can collect hay and bedding, so they require regular grooming and occasional trimming. Dense curls may hide skin irritation until the hair is carefully parted. Hairless guinea pigs need steady temperatures because their exposed skin provides less insulation. The coat became a record of human preference. While each selected feature carried its own physical consequences. Small size, controlled breeding, and tolerance of human spaces had now made guinea pigs highly manageable. Those same qualities soon drew them from private households into rooms built for measurement, observation, and experimental science. The same qualities that allowed guinea pigs to live comfortably in European homes also made them practical animals for early scientific study. They were small enough to house indoors, large enough for careful observation, and calm enough to remain within controlled equipment. Their food could be measured, their surroundings could be kept stable, and several animals could be studied under similar conditions. By the late 18th century, European researchers were trying to measure processes that happened invisibly inside living bodies. One of the most important questions concerned heat. A warm animal produces heat continuously, yet the source of that warmth was still being debated. On February 3, 1783, the French chemist Antoine Lavoisier and the mathematician Pierre-Simon Laplace began an experiment using a guinea pig and a device called an ice calorimeter. A calorimeter is an instrument that measures heat. Their apparatus contained an inner chamber for the guinea pig, surrounded by carefully arranged layers of ice. The animal's body heat melted part of that ice. Water from the melting ice collected below, where it could be measured. A larger amount of melted ice meant that more heat had left the guinea pig's body. Lavoisier and Laplace also studied the gases involved in breathing. The guinea pig inhaled air containing oxygen and exhaled air containing more carbon dioxide. By comparing heat production with these changes in the air, the researchers connected respiration with the release of energy from food. Respiration in this scientific sense includes the chemical reactions that occur inside cells. Nutrients are broken down with the help of oxygen, releasing energy that can support movement, organ function, and body heat. Lavoisier compared this process with combustion, the chemical reaction involved when fuel burns. A living body releases energy far more slowly and under tighter control than an open flame. The broad chemical principle was similar enough to help explain why an animal needs oxygen and produces warmth. The guinea pig had made an invisible process measurable through melted ice, collected water, and changing gases. During the 19th century, guinea pigs became especially important in the growing study of infectious disease. Researchers found that they responded strongly to the bacterium that causes tuberculosis. This made them useful for testing whether samples contained the organism and for studying how the disease developed through the body. After Robert Koch identified the tuberculosis bacterium in 1882, guinea pigs became closely connected with laboratory methods used to investigate it. They also contributed to research on diphtheria, a serious bacterial illness that was especially dangerous to children before modern vaccination. During the 1890s, scientists studying diphtheria toxins and antitoxins used guinea pigs to measure how these substances affected a living system. An antitoxin is an antibody that attaches to a harmful toxin and reduces its effects. This work helped establish principles that later supported treatments and vaccines. Guinea pigs were also used to study allergic reactions and the airways. Their respiratory passages can narrow strongly in response to certain chemicals, creating measurable changes in breathing. That feature made them useful for investigating asthma-like reactions and the action of medications on airway muscles. The structure of the guinea pig ear opened a different research path. Its middle and inner ear are large enough for detailed examination, while several parts of its hearing system respond to sound in ways useful for comparison with human hearing. Researchers have studied how sound travels through the ear, how delicate sensory cells respond to vibration, and how loud noise or infection can affect hearing. The missing vitamin C enzyme provided another reason for scientific interest. Most common laboratory mammals manufacture their own vitamin C. Guinea pigs share the human dependence on dietary sources, allowing researchers to study deficiency, collagen production, and the effects of measured vitamin intake. No animal reproduces every feature of the human body. A scientific model is useful because one particular system offers a meaningful comparison. Guinea pigs suited questions involving tuberculosis, airway reactions, hearing, and vitamin C metabolism for different biological reasons. Their availability made research possible, while their anatomy and physiology determined which questions they could answer well. Across 2 centuries, the small domestic cavy helped turn body heat, immune reactions, and nutrient needs into quantities scientists could observe and compare. Its connection with experiments became so widely recognized that the words guinea pig eventually developed a second meaning far beyond the animal itself. By the early 20th century, the words guinea pig had begun to describe more than the animal itself. A person trying an untested medicine, machine, or procedure might be called a guinea pig. The phrase could also describe the first object placed into an uncertain trial. Its meaning came from the species' familiar presence in laboratories, where researchers had used guinea pigs for generations to study processes that could not be measured safely or clearly in people. The comparison became so common that many speakers used it without thinking about the living animal behind the words. That animal had already contributed to several major areas of medicine. Guinea pigs helped researchers study tuberculosis after Robert Koch identified the bacterium responsible for the disease in 1882. Their strong response to infection allowed scientists to test samples and investigate how the bacterium moved through tissues. Koch's work on tuberculosis was recognized with the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 1905. Diphtheria research followed another important path. The bacterium responsible for diphtheria releases a toxin that can damage cells far from the original infection. During the late 19th century, researchers used guinea pigs to study how much toxin produced a measurable effect and how antitoxin could block it. Emil von Behring received the first Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 1901 for work on serum therapy, especially against diphtheria. A serum treatment carries antibodies collected from blood. Those antibodies can attach to a toxin and reduce its ability to harm the body. Guinea pigs also helped scientists understand immune reactions that were less directly connected with infection. Their airways respond strongly to certain allergens and chemicals. An allergen is a substance that can trigger an immune reaction in a sensitive body. Researchers could measure narrowing in the air passages, changes in breathing, and the effects of drugs intended to relax airway muscles. These features made the species useful in studies related to asthma and other respiratory conditions. The guinea pig's ear supported work on hearing. Its inner ear structures are large enough to examine closely, and its hearing range overlaps with parts of human hearing. Researchers studied how vibration reaches sensory cells, how infection affects the middle ear, and how strong sound can damage delicate structures involved in hearing. Nutrition created a different connection with people. Because guinea pigs cannot make vitamin C, they became valuable for studying deficiency. Researchers could control the amount supplied in food and observe how collagen, gums, blood vessels, and healing responded. This shared dependence helped explain why people deprived of fresh plant foods could develop scurvy during long sea voyages or periods of severe food shortage. Historical reviews connect guinea pig research with work associated with at least 3 Nobel Prizes. That number does not mean guinea pigs produce discoveries by themselves. Scientific progress came from researchers, technicians, instruments, accumulated observations, and the particular features of the animals being studied. Their biology made certain hidden processes easier to measure. Over time, mice and rats became more common in many laboratories. Both species are smaller than guinea pigs and usually reproduce more quickly. A mouse pregnancy lasts about 3 weeks, while a guinea pig pregnancy continues for roughly 2 months. Mice also produce larger numbers of young and require less space and food per animal. During the 20th century, researchers developed standardized strains with carefully recorded ancestry. Later genetic tools made it possible to alter particular mouse genes and study the result. These advantages shifted many research programs toward mice and rats. Guinea pigs remained useful where their own biology offered a better match, including parts of hearing, airway, infectious disease, and nutritional research. Changing technology therefore changes which species scientists choose. Ethical standards have changed as well. Modern animal research is often guided by three principles known as replacement, reduction, and refinement. Replacement means using a non-animal method whenever it can answer the question reliably. Cell cultures, computer models, and carefully designed human data can sometimes take the place of animal studies. Reduction means obtaining valid results with fewer animals through stronger planning, better measurement, and shared data. Refinement means changing housing, handling, or procedures to reduce distress and improve welfare. These principles recognize that scientific value and responsibility must be considered together. The guinea pig has occupied many human roles across its history. Andean households raised it for food and ceremony. European families displayed it as a rare imported animal. Laboratories used its body to investigate heat, disease, hearing, and nutrition. Modern homes often know it as a social companion that whistles when a familiar routine begins. Human purposes kept changing around the same small cavie. Leaving the metaphor behind allows the living animal to come back into view, listening to footsteps, recognizing patterns, and learning what the sounds of one particular home are likely to mean. Within a familiar household, ordinary sounds gradually become useful information. The refrigerator opens. A cupboard door clicks against its frame. Footsteps slow near the place where vegetables are usually prepared. A guinea pig may lift its head before any food appears. Its ears turn toward the sound, and the body shifts closer to the front of the enclosure. A repeated whistle may follow a few seconds later. This response develops through associative learning. Association forms when one event regularly occurs before another. At first, the rustling of a bag has no special meaning. After the same sound is followed many times by lettuce, bell pepper, or another familiar food, the bag becomes a reliable clue. The earlier cue can eventually produce movement and vocalizing on its own. Researchers have tested this ability using controlled sounds. A guinea pig can learn that a particular tone predicts an event, then continue responding when parts of that tone are changed. The pitch may rise slightly, or the sound may last for a different amount of time. Recognition can survive these small differences because the animal has learned the broader pattern. This ability is called generalization. It allows useful signals to remain meaningful even when they are never produced in exactly the same way twice. A person's footsteps vary with shoes, speed, and the surface beneath them. Voices change with distance and volume. Plastic packaging makes a different sound each time it is handled. A guinea pig can still connect these changing versions with a familiar result. Household recognition usually involves several senses working together. Sound may announce that someone has entered the room. Scent helps identify the person once they move closer. The speed and direction of the approaching body provide more information. Time of day can strengthen the pattern when feeding or cleaning usually happens on a regular schedule. Handling style adds another layer. One person may lift the guinea pig slowly with both hands, supporting the chest and hindquarters. Someone else may move more quickly or approach from directly above. The animal experiences these as different combinations of touch, movement, scent, and sound. Familiarity grows when the combination remains predictable. A cautious guinea pig may first remain beneath cover, while a person sits nearby. After repeated calm visits, the animal may begin eating without waiting for the room to become empty. Later, it might step partly outside the shelter or approach a hand holding food. These changes provide observable ways to describe trust. Voluntary approach shows that the animal is choosing to reduce distance. Remaining visible means it feels less need to hide immediately. Continued feeding suggests that the person's presence is no longer interrupting every normal activity. Exploration can expand when the surroundings feel dependable. A guinea pig may cross an open part of the enclosure, inspect a new tunnel, or return to a resting place after a brief disturbance. Handling may also become easier as the animal learns how the sequence usually unfolds. Reduced struggle does not mean every guinea pig enjoys being lifted. The change shows that the experience has become more predictable, and that recovery afterward may happen more quickly. Individual animals reach these points at different speeds. Inherited temperament affects how strongly a guinea pig reacts to novelty. Early life also matters. Pups raised with gentle human contact may become accustomed to voices and hands sooner than animals that received little handling. Companionship can influence confidence because a calm, familiar guinea pig provides extra information. Housing design changes how much control each animal has over distance and shelter. Past frightening experiences may slow learning even when later care is gentle. Age, health, and daily energy levels can alter behavior as well. Two guinea pigs living in the same home can therefore respond very differently to the same person. One may approach as soon as footsteps enter the room. Its companion may wait beneath cover until food is placed nearby. Both animals are learning from the same environment through their own history and temperament. Reliable routines reduce uncertainty. A familiar voice predicts a known person. A particular container predicts hay. The sound of a latch may signal that floor time is beginning. Each dependable sequence allows the guinea pig to prepare for what is likely to happen, rather than reacting to every event as completely unfamiliar. For an animal descended from small grazers that survive through caution, this predictability has real value. Less uncertainty leaves more time for feeding, resting near companions, and exploring safe surroundings. The relationship becomes visible through repeated choices made by the animal itself. Its approach, whistle, and relaxed return to food grows from accumulated experience. A modern home can support those learned patterns most successfully when it also respects the older needs carried in the guinea pig's body. That respect becomes visible in the ordinary arrangement of a guinea pig's home. The animal beside a hay pile still carries the needs of a small South American grazer, even after thousands of years of domestication. Its body expects frequent access to fibrous plants. Its continuously growing teeth depend on long periods of grinding. The microorganisms inside its cecum need a steady flow of fiber to keep fermentation moving. A generous supply of grass hay supports all of these systems at once. Each strand passes through the incisors, across the hidden cheek teeth, and eventually into the large fermentation chamber of the hindgut. The same food that fills much of the day also helps maintain the balance between dental growth and wear. Social companionship reflects an equally old part of guinea pig life. Wild cavies gained useful information from the posture and movement of nearby animals. Domestication increased the social tolerance that allowed several guinea pigs to live close together under human care. Modern companions still rest near one another, follow movement through familiar spaces, and react when another animal suddenly becomes alert. A person can provide gentle handling and a dependable routine. Another guinea pig adds scent, body posture, low calls, and immediate social responses that belong to the species itself. Shelter answers the caution shaped in open Andean landscapes. A small grazer feeding near the ground once depended on rocks, dense plants, and narrow covered spaces for protection. Inside a home, tunnels and roofed hiding places provide a similar sense of immediate cover. Several guinea pigs benefit from having more than one shelter and more than one entrance. This allows an animal to move away without becoming trapped behind a companion standing in the doorway. The arrangement of space can support movement as well as retreat. Guinea pigs need enough open floor area to walk, follow one another, forage, and change direction at speed. Some perform sudden jumps and quick twists, often called popcorning. The movement may last only a moment, with all 4 feet briefly leaving the ground. A low body with short legs can still produce a surprising burst of energy when the animal has room to move freely. Fresh foods carrying vitamin C answer a need hidden inside the cells. The missing enzyme prevents guinea pigs from manufacturing the vitamin on their own. Suitable vegetables and properly stored fortified food help supply what their metabolism cannot complete. That dietary dependence followed the species from Andean households into ships, European homes, laboratories, and modern enclosures. The full environment works best when these needs support one another. Hay encourages natural chewing and keeps digestive material moving. Shelter makes open movement feel safer. Compatible companions add social information. Predictable routines allow learning to replace some of the uncertainty that once demanded constant caution. Guinea pigs commonly live for around 5 to 8 years. Some live longer with suitable care, while health, genetics, and early conditions influence each individual life. That time span makes a guinea pig a lasting household responsibility. Daily feeding, cleaning, observation, and companionship continue through many seasons. The animal gradually learns the timing of footsteps, the sound of a familiar container, and the movements that usually bring fresh hay. Its owner also learns the smaller signals in return. A pause in chewing can show that something has attracted attention. A sudden whistle may follow a well-known food cue. A relaxed return to the open area suggests that a brief disturbance has passed. These actions now carry the history that shaped them. The whistle grows from learned prediction within a social species. Stillness reaches back toward cavies surviving among exposed grasses. A smooth, rosetted, long, or curly coat may reflect generations of selective breeding after guinea pigs reached Europe. The animal's tolerance of close companions carries the effects of domestication through both behavior and stress biology. Its place inside a modern home depends on an even longer chain of human movement. Indigenous communities domesticated and maintained guinea pigs in South America. Trade carried some populations between mountain valleys and into the Caribbean. 16th century ships moved Peruvian lineages across the Atlantic. European households bred them for appearance, while later researchers studied their unusual physiology. All of that history remains contained within a body weighing close to 1 kilogram. Near the hay, 2 compatible guinea pigs settle beneath the edge of a covered shelter. One draws a dry strand slowly into its mouth. The other lifts its head when a familiar sound reaches the room, listens for a moment, and then settles beside its companion again.